commonly regarded as beings of pleasure. But every year, a female goblin develops an acute and uncontrollable desire for such lustful hunger. Goblins attack human communities in groups, with males serving as their common target to satisfy their insatiable desire. The strongest man in the world, Peter Grill, is sent against the goblin army by the king in order to defend the town from goblins and their lust. Peter, with his bravest harem warriors, sets off for one of the towns that is already being attacked and is on the verge of being destroyed. This team of his includes his fiancée Luvilia and the girls who desire his sperm in order to produce stronger children. Peter faces new challenges every day in order to stay loyal to his fiancée, Luvilia, but handling a harem seems to be a great problem even for the strongest man in the world. As new events unfold, Peter finds himself in a bed surrounded by elves. Frutalia Eldriel, an elf ambassador, strips half naked and attempts to forcefully mate with an almost naked Peter in order to complete an elf super soldier operation. Peter questions why no one takes his opinion into consideration before forcing themselves on him. Frutalia replies that he, being an inferior human, has no right to refuse a mating proposal from a member of a high elf society like herself, and that there will be no other opportunity like this. Peter still refuses and tries to leave the room. Left with no choice, Frutalia uses her special spell on him. A magic symbol appears at the bottom of his abdomen, and she tells him that it is her special spell that turns the entire body 3,000 times more sensitive. She tempts him, but he finds himself submitting to his desires due to her spell. Frutalia calls Cellulose and Glucose elf servants, and they hold Peter Grill. She approaches to remove his towel to see his erected rod, but to her surprise, even with her special spell, his organ remains unerected. Peter explains that since he is not in love with anyone except Luvilia, his fiancée, he will not be turned on by anyone else. That is when Frutalia's grandmother appears in the room, and believing Peter to be a friend of hers, invites him for tea. She also apologizes for their bad accommodation, as due to the prior incident, their financial situation has been bad. Peter, thinking it will be rude to leave, wonders what he should do. On the other hand, Lisa, Mimi, and Piglet are searching for Peter. Gobuko tells them that she found Vegan unconscious in the bath. They wake Vegan up, who reveals that Peter was taken prisoner by her sister Frutalia to the elvish countryside. Peter's girls plan to bring him back, but Vegan says that since it is the responsibility of the elves, she will get him back herself. The girls, not accepting this proposal, decide to save Peter anyway. Back at the elf residence, Peter asks Cellulose and Glucose about the incident and why the elves call themselves goodwill ambassadors. They tell him about the mind stone in the pudding incident and take him to a storage room that their great-great-grandfather, Lord Vegetalia, left behind. The vault is said to have an inheritance for the ladies. A stone tablet on the wall says, "When the power of the sisters combines, the seal shall be broken." However, because Frutalia and Vegan don't get along, the vault remains closed. Cellulose and Glucose beg Peter to mediate between the sisters so that they can be relieved of their dirty role as goodwill ambassadors. As they converse, they overhear Frutalia begging an orange-haired rich elf for some more time in repaying her debt. As the guy leaves, Frutalia starts crying about her situation, and Peter, standing behind her, feels bad for her but holds himself back to remain loyal to Luvilia. Frutalia, once again left with no choice, casts a forbidding spell passed down through the house of Eldoriel for generations. Frutalia casts an illusion where she takes the form of Luvilia and seduces Peter to make a baby with her. Peter, although knowing that this is an illusion, still cannot help it, and his elephant becomes rock hard. Seeing Frutalia in the form of Luvilia spreading her legs, Peter's meat missile becomes sensitive again. She removes his clothes, but is surprised to find that his previously hard penis has softened. Peter tells her that he used his rapid-fire pole polishing technique to make it lose its stiffness. He says that he used this technique to counter her special spell, and that his rod may be functional again, but as long as he has his right hand, he can always attain post-nut clarity. Frutalia tries to cast another spell, but a duck appears before her, and after a flash, Peter vanishes from her sight. She looks back and Vegan is sitting on the window with Peter Grill. Frutalia tries to cast a spell on her, but she is slow compared to her older sister. Vegan casts a sensitive spell on Frutalia, and she loses her composure. Vegan expresses her undying love for Peter and informs her about the sworn oath to join in holy matrimony. She also claims that she is far better suited as a goodwill ambassador than Frutalia. Peter wonders if he missed something, as this was not the case last time he was with her. Their grandmother appears and she sees Vegan after a long time. Vegan promises her that she will do anything to restore the honor of the Eldoriel house. She tells her to take care, kicks Peter out of the window, and goes away. On the other hand, Peter's girls get lost and are led to a volcano instead of getting to the elf nation. Peter and Vegan are in a forest, and the sensitive spell is still active on Peter. Vegan takes advantage of the spell and presents herself vulnerable in front of Peter. He, unable to resist the temptation, gives in, and some elf-human bonding takes place. Even after the intercourse, Peter's spell is not removed, and Vegan explains that it can only be removed by the one who casts it. Vegan is overjoyed that she won against the great Peter Grill. Not knowing what to do, tries to seduce her and asks her about the incident that banished her from the village. She shows the incident on a magic screen. 3 years ago, Frutalia saved pudding for herself to eat later, but Vegan ate it instead, saying that older siblings are better and can do anything. A quarrel occurred between them. Vegan, feeling guilty, tried to make some pudding with the forbidding spell, but it went out of control. A huge amount of pudding appeared all over the village and caused destruction. The Eldoriel house went bankrupt after it was ordered to pay for the punitive damage. This was the Mind Stone in the pudding incident. Peter asks her about why she lied about being a goodwill ambassador, and she refuses to tell. He says that if he's going to be her husband, she should not hide anything from him. Convinced, Vegan tells him that she did it because she wanted Frutalia not to suffer needlessly, and since carrying a child is a huge responsibility, she did not want her to be burdened with it. He advises her to go apologize and convey her real feelings to Frutalia. As they get back, Vegan uses the bow technique that Peter taught her to say sorry. As she bows, she makes a stupid face, and Frutalia gets the impression that she still wants to pick up a fight. Vegan agrees and they decide to settle this with a bout. Frutalia and Vegan start their battle once again, and both fire energy beams at each other. A blast results and Vegan vanishes from Frutalia's sight. She appears behind her and wiggles her chest, causing her to lose her balance since the sensitive spell is still active. Vegan then gathers the energy for a huge blast ball and prepares to fire at Frutalia. However, Peter appears in front of Frutalia to shield her. Vegan asks him which side he is on, to which he replies that he is on both sides. She then releases her green energy ball, and Peter uses his spell to blow it away. The orange-haired rich elf arrives again to collect the debt, but he is blown away by the diverted blast ball. Vegan again tells Frutalia to let her handle the ambassador duties, but Frutalia refuses, saying that they cannot be given to someone who was banished from the village. Vegan replies that their older sister is always expected to do the duty, and she accepts her role as she is older. Frutalia gets a subtle hint that she may be doing this to care for her, but she calls her pompous and selfish. As Frutalia is about to attack again, Peter steps in and tells them to stop. Their grandmother appears and, witnessing the damages from the battle, becomes worried. Peter tells them to stop their fight and not give their grandmother any more problems. He asks Frutalia if she will forgive Vegan, to which she replies that she won't, since Vegan always screws up, doesn't admit her mistake, and refuses to apologize. Peter then asks Frutalia to consider Vegan's point of view, that she is choosing to bear Peter's child so that Frutalia does not have to, and that she is deeply sorry. Frutalia has a hard time digesting that her older sister can't think of someone other than herself. Peter asks Vegan to be true to herself and her feelings, even for just a few moments. Vegan begins to cry and apologizes. Seeing this, Brutalia approaches to give her a hug, but as she gets closer, Brutalia instead delivers a corkscrew punch to the face. Their grandmother helps them to reconcile, and they proceed towards the Vault of Inheritance to open it up. Both of them cast their magical energy on the gate of the vault, and it opens. Inside is a shining light at the center of the tree. A holograph of their great-great-grandfather appears, and he tells them about the treasure. The treasure is actually the bond that they share among themselves. After saying this, the hologram disappears, leaving the sisters with nothing tangible. While they are angry, Peter tries to sneak away, but they catch him. They have no choice but to continue their role as goodwill ambassadors. Both of the sisters take on Peter Grill together as he screams. Peter's 4 girls finally find him, but seeing him naked with the sisters, they demand that it's time for their bonding as well. Peter screams to stop this, but he has nowhere to run. Meanwhile, the king in his castle is dining with his daughter, Luvelia, and has a plan in mind that will destroy Peter. The end. For now, subscribe for more exciting videos.